The world is dealing with this new situation caused by the pandemic, which ruined many things for many people. It's a very cliche thing to say, but the virus doesn't spare anyone, rich or poor. So, because quite a few people who had direct contact with Queen Elizabeth II have been diagnosed with coronavirus, there have been concerns about the monarch's health. Is the Queen really safe from the virus, or are they hiding something? How will she celebrate her birthday? Could her staff infect the monarch with the virus? Stay with me to find out how the pandemic impacted the life of the royal family. But first, remember to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notifications to not miss any of our videos. Before we start talking about the Queen, recently we've had an update on Prince Charles, who tested positive for coronavirus. It's been reported that, after consultation with his doctor, the Prince of Wales is now out of self-isolation. He spent 7 days quarantining in Scotland after having mild symptoms. Prince Charles is in good health, and he was following the government's restrictions, and he continues to work from home. At first, it seemed a bit strange that the prince was out of quarantine so quick, when patients with the virus usually spend from 2 weeks to a month in the hospital. But according to the UK government guidelines, anyone with symptoms should isolate only for 7 days. Meanwhile, Charles' wife Camilla was also tested, but her result was negative. Yet she will still self-isolate until the end of the week. Clarence House previously said that it wasn't possible to tell who infected Prince Charles, but there appeared rumors that it was Prince Albert of Monaco who spread the virus. Both royals attended the WaterAid event on March 10th. Albert has addressed the rumors and said that he attended the meeting for Charles Foundation, but they never shook hands. He was far away, at the other end of the table, and they only nodded hello to one another. This could be true because Prince Charles already took safety measures at the Commonwealth Day service, and instead of shaking hands with the guests, he put his hands together and did a namaste gesture. Besides that, Prince Albert said that there were a lot of people around at the event, and Charles continued his schedule for a few days, so he had many other opportunities to catch the virus. Prince Albert was the first royal to be diagnosed with coronavirus. According to sources, he started showing symptoms of the disease after he returned from London and was tested on March 16th. So, if theoretically Prince Charles caught the virus at the WaterAid event, was there really no chance of him spreading the disease to the Queen? Royal sources said that he wouldn't have been contagious before March 13th, and he last saw his mother on March 12th, when he carried out an engagement on her behalf at Buckingham Palace. A spokesman also revealed that the Queen saw her son only briefly, and she remains in good health, and is following the advice with regard to her well-being. The palace had to make huge changes in the monarch's schedule. First of all, the Queen started her Easter vacation early and left for Windsor Castle on March 19th as a safety measure. That's where she reunited with her 98-year-old husband, Prince Philip, after more than a month apart. The Queen was pictured leaving Buckingham Palace with her dogs, and I'll tell you later why that's important. Windsor Castle is where the Queen usually spends weekends, and this is where she was set to stay for the annual Easter break. The monarch also released a statement to the nation saying that she and her family are ready to play their part in this new challenge. By the way, April is the Queen's birthday month, and this year she will turn 94. But will she be forced to spend her birthday just with her staff and her husband, since the whole family is self-distancing? It's also been confirmed that the official celebrations of the Queen's birthday in June, Trooping the Color, won't go ahead as usual. Some other options are being considered with regard to the safety guidelines, because the Queen's birthday parade is one of the most spectacular royal events of the year. That's when the whole royal family usually shows up. And this year, Meghan and Harry were expected to attend, even though they stepped back from royal duties. Other events that were cancelled are the parties for hundreds of guests in the Buckingham Palace Gardens, the Queen's favorite Royal Windsor Horse Show, Prince Charles and Camilla's Spring Tour, and Prince Harry's Invictus Games. The traditional changing of the guard at Buckingham Palace, one of the most popular tourist attractions, is not being performed for spectators nor with its typical music and ceremony. Besides that, the monarch's weekly audiences with the Prime Minister have also taken a different form. Speaking of the Queen and the Prime Minister, Boris Johnson is another person who had direct contact with the monarch and has tested positive for coronavirus. If you're a fan of The Crown, Queen Elizabeth's weekly audiences with the Prime Minister are absolutely a thing, even if the Queen has only a symbolic role and she's politically neutral. So when did Boris Johnson have his last meeting with the Queen? Could he spread the virus to her, especially since he bragged about shaking hands with infected patients? Well, Queen Elizabeth and the UK Prime Minister had their last meeting in person on March 11th. After that, the monarch was following the appropriate advice and held audiences over the phone. The royal family's official social media accounts released a picture of the Queen talking with Johnson over the phone from her Windsor Castle home. It wasn't just any phone though, but an old-school one with a rotary dial and a cord. I mentioned that the Queen was seen leaving Buckingham Palace with her dogs, but considering her age and all the things that she has to do, Elizabeth doesn't take care of her pets herself, and she has people who will do that. And now what happened? One of the members of the royal staff, who worked closely with the Queen, tested positive for coronavirus. The long-serving worker who hasn't been named was promoted 6 months ago. Since then, his duties included bringing the monarch meals and drinks, walking her dogs, introducing guests, and handing her letters. Before the diagnosis, the footman would see the Queen on a daily basis, performing his normal duties. But he obviously has been sent home and is self-isolating. So now everyone is concerned over how close the 93-year-old Queen was to those who potentially carried the virus. A royal insider said that everyone was terrified, not just for themselves, but also for the Queen and her husband. That's why dozens of royal household staff have had home tests for coronavirus, but all of them have come back negative. The week before that, though, one worker at Buckingham Palace had tested positive while the Queen was still there. The other night, the palace confirmed that the Queen is still in good health, but they wouldn't comment on whether she'd been tested for coronavirus. Honestly, it just wouldn't be sensible not to test her when she was exposed to people who later got a positive result. The royal staff based at Buckingham Palace, Windsor, and Sandringham have been told to work from home if possible. Those who still have to go into the royal residences have been split into small teams to minimize any risk. The whole thing is really serious, because royal officials have also met up to make plans about what to do in case the situation gets even worse, or if there's a death in the monarchy. A source told The Sun that there's a sense of unease over what could happen, how long the lockdown could go on for, and what to do if one of the royals dies. After all, the country could be in a lockdown for most of the year, so they have to consider every scenario. There's also concern among the staff over who else could have coronavirus. People are able to spread it even if they're not showing symptoms, and that's why everyone's concerned for the Queen and Prince Philip. She is almost 94, and the Duke is 98 years old, and they fit into the vulnerable category of the population when it comes to the virus. How did the coronavirus affect the younger royals? Where are they self-isolating? Prince William and Kate Middleton are at the Sandringham estate in Norfolk with their 3 children George, Charlotte, and Louis, who will turn 2 in April. The family usually is based at Kensington Palace in London, but they often escape to their second home in the country, which was a wedding gift from the Queen. Prince George and Princess Charlotte's school is closed in favor of online learning due to the epidemic, so the children will do their homeschooling from the country. What's more, the Kensington Royal Instagram shared a video of the 3 kids applauding the healthcare workers fighting the pandemic. The video was part of the National Health Service's #ClapForOurCarers campaign. Prince Charles and Camilla also took part in it from their places of self-isolation. After leaving the UK, Meghan and Prince Harry returned to Canada and reunited with baby Archie. But they didn't stay there for long because they decided to move to Los Angeles before the US and Canada border closed and flights were cancelled. So now they're in quarantine in their new secluded compound in Bel Air as they're preparing for the new chapter in their lives. The coronavirus lockdown was really bad news for everyone planning a wedding this year. Not that it wasn't bad news for everyone else, but if you've ever been involved in planning a wedding, you get me. One of these people is Princess Beatrice, and of course her fiancé, Edoardo Mapelli Mozzi, who had to cancel their wedding reception at Buckingham Palace Gardens. Their wedding was scheduled for May 29th, and according to a statement, they're rethinking their arrangements and are deciding if a private ceremony with a small group of people would be safe for their guests. Beatrice and Eduardo are looking forward to getting married, but they're aware of the risk in the current situation. Let's hope that the Queen is safe, especially since she's in the high-risk group. Do you think that Elizabeth should have better protection to not be exposed to the virus? How do you think the monarch will celebrate her birthday? Leave your thoughts in the comments and remember to subscribe to our channel to stay up to date with our videos. Share this one with your people and leave a thumbs up. Until next time.